What's cracking, world? All right, so episode number 4. This is by far, I think, I don't want to say the best, but the more comfortable. I don't know if it's because it's the 4th one or because of the content, because of the guests, whatever it is. Like I'm feeling more and more comfortable. So, yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoy it as much as I did. Again, thank you all for the support. Really riding this momentum out, I'm really riding with this momentum, and it's been good. It's been fun. Been getting some suggestions on people to, have a conversation with. So if you guys know of anyone that that you would like on the show, please, leave it in the comments. Maybe not comments. Anyways, hit me up. Yeah, do something like that. I already got a list, and basically, I'm just trying to get more people so this could continue on. Just give me the names because I do have, a criteria. They do have to meet certain, not standards, but they have to have a certain story that I'm looking for in order for me to put them on the ZosCast podcast. Anyways, enjoy. Shoots. What's cracking, world? Welcome to the ZosCast podcast, where we are broadcasting from the safe house in Garapan, Saipan. Thanks again for allowing us, to all the staff and management. Thanks for allowing us to film here and everything. I noticed on my last podcast, I was saving it till the end, so I'm trying to do it in the beginning. Anyways, today's guest... Man, I don't even know where to start, dude. He's just an all-around badass. A lot of people would consider him the godfather of MMA out here on Saipan. He is responsible for a lot of the MMA fighters out here. Most famously known or most popular, Frank the Crank Camacho. He's been an advocate of anti-bullying and also keeping the MMA game clean. And also, let me just throw this in there, he's really he's really putting in place a strong structure of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu out here. So, yeah, damn, that was too long. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Cuki Alvarez.
What's up, Saipan Hafide? Good evening, happy Sunday, happy Easter.
Yes, happy Easter. Oh, yeah, and I forgot to throw that in there, too. Cook was cool enough to lend me a couple hours of his Easter Sunday to do this. So thanks a lot, man. Welcome to the show.
Always a pleasure, Josh.
Yes, let's talk.
Let's do it.
So anyways, did you do anything today? Anything special before you came in?
We had an exciting Friday and Saturday. Took the kids. We usually pick up our nieces and nephews from San Antonio. That's where my wife is from, Mariana.
Yep.
So we took the kids because, all our kids are grown up. And my granddaughter, my 13, soon to be 14-year-old granddaughter, has been living
already
in the States. Dude, time flies. And so I go and, mock up on my nephews to be my borrowed grandchildren. So we took them, Easter egg hunting over the weekend and stuff. And then we brought them back home, saved church for them and their families.
Okay.
And, my wife and I just chilled today, man. Really, honestly, we had a nice Friday and Saturday. And we decided to just chill out this morning. So.
Okay, cool. Well, man, again, thanks so much. You could have been doing something else. I know it's so cliche, but you're here now.
Right on.
But how have things been with the recovery efforts from Typhoon U2? Like how's the gym been and all that?
Man, honestly speaking, we lucked out. I mean, considering that our gym is kind of semi-indoor-outdoor style, we got a big Butler tin roof that could have easily flown away. But, we survived Sodelor, we survived U2, so as you can tell, the structure is definitely structurally sound. It was a stressful time, Josh, honestly. U2 hit everybody hard in one way or another, some more than others. The gym lucked out, we suffered just superficial damage, just some of the water gutters blew away. Of course, the mats got wet and some of the equipment, but, was all in a couple of weeks' work. Took out all the mats, dried them up, cleaned them, took out all the equipment, dried them up, cleaned them, and then just kind of prepared the floor and relayed the mats, and we were back up and running in a couple weeks.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, very resilient. Because I remember too, when I went there last time, it's like nothing hit. So that's cool. And then, but during that time, you had a fight event scheduled.
Yes. Wow, and this was going to be an awesome. It was all wound up to be an awesome card. Mm-hmm. We had fighters from Guam, fighters from Korea. We had it all set up, but unfortunately, Mother Nature took its course, and we tapped out to YouTube, and we had to cancel. And funny, because that's the second time we actually ever canceled an event.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys remember Typhoon Dolphin. That kind of near miss one a few years ago. Mm-hmm. Had an awesome card. All the fighters from off island were on island. And, they were staying in the hotels and everything. And then, man, the day before the event, we had the weigh-ins and everything. That was at Gigs.
Yeah, I remember that.
We had the weigh-ins and everything. And then, man, they put out an all-points bulletin saying that the typhoon was guaranteed going to hit the next day. So we had no choice but to cancel due to safety standards and issues. Yeah. And guess what? It was like the typhoon never even came. Yeah, so here, we were kind of like saying, man, should we take a chance? The fighters from off island were not here yet. Yeah, but it was the week of. Mm-hmm. So we were caught between, oh man, what do we do? Do we just let it ride and hopefully, this thing will not hit us like how a dolphin kind of missed us?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I got together with my team and I said, you know what, man, safety first. We can't jeopardize anybody's livelihood or anything like that. Some of the fighters were even calling, hey, are we going to be able to fly in? Some fighters were flying in on Wednesday because of the way the flights were scheduled and stuff.
Yeah.
And so anyway, long story short, ultimately we ended up just canceling the event, and it was the best decision we made.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's funny you bring that up because I remember it was, I forgot what chat room I was in, but you were contemplating. It almost seemed like it was last minute to where it's like, all right, you know what, it's canceled. Yeah. Because people are going to start flying in tomorrow.
Yeah.
And sure enough, because, dude, imagine if they were
here. It was a stressful time.
Yeah.
I mean, decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, do we take a chance and bring in the fighters and just say, what the heck, just go ahead and come over and then we'll see what happens after that? Or do we just make a sound decision and say it's better to be safe than sorry?
Yeah.
Possibly have a dolphin situation again where we really could have seriously had that fight. But because, safety was an issue, we couldn't put safety second to anything. So we did the same thing with this. And, man, if we would have brought in all those fighters from Guam, they would have been stuck here.
I know, man, right? For a week or two.
For a few weeks, maybe.
They would have really got to know us.
Someone was looking out for our best interest, everyone's best interest, and it worked out for the best. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So, which really gets me to, I guess, the core of the conversation here. So, like I said in my long-ass intro, a lot of people see you as the godfather of MMA out here. For me personally, I was in the U.S. when really the trench wars and that whole thing started catching fire out here. And every time, I'd ask about it, your name would be brought up, Trench Tech, of course, Frank the Crank, all this and that. And I heard about it, I want to say I think it was mid-2000s maybe. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But how did all of this come about? Because even at that, I knew you as a fighter first. I never knew you were on the promotional side of anything, let alone your own gym, How did all that come about?
Well, to kind of put it in to where we don't take too long to talk about the whole thing, because I could talk for hours about how about Trench Tech and everything that where it started and where it's going and all that. Yeah. Wow, Rage and Rumble.
Is that the one that was canceled?
That was the one that was canceled, right? Because it was supposed to be for October 26th. Yep.
Oh, okay.
So that was the one that was canceled. So anyway, going back to Trench Tech. Let's just get the name kind of straight. Trench, synonymous with the Marianas Trench. A lot of people know the deepest part of the world, ocean, the Challenger Deep, is where the Marianas Trench is located. And so, we can say that somehow, some way, the world knows where we are. Anyway, Trench, of course, deep, technique. It all started out, Josh, I was always been into extreme sports. I raced jet skis, I raced motocross, I raced cars, just kind of growing up all my life. And, at around 1999, when I used to travel back and forth to Guam a lot to race, my cousin Peter was actually, hanging out with these Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys. They were known as the Fukai boys, right? That's kind of how I knew them.
Okay.
And purebred. And so, whenever I go to Guam to race, I'd head on the plane, get there by Friday morning, and then Friday night, Pete would take me to this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu place that, everybody was doing. And this was, like I said, around 1999, early 1999. And when I saw him doing that, of course, being the extreme sports guy that I am, I said, I got to give this a try too. And mind you, that's actually, I started late. I mean, when I first got introduced to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, of course, I used to watch UFC and all that other stuff, but, was in 1999. That's when I first saw it, when my cousin Peter brought me over to the guys. They were on the second floor in Agania, and they were just grappling each other and doing all these crazy locks, and I just immediately got interested. So, befriended all the guys from Fuckeye and Purebred, and every time I went back to Guam, I was able to train with them from time to time. Became good friends with Roman De La Cruz, the owner of Fuckeye Industries. And, he knew that Peter and I were both into extreme sports, motocross and jet ski. So, he'd throw out a few sponsorship stuff here and there, a few T-shirts, a few hats and stuff to support. So we became really close. And then at around 2004, this was about almost 5 years later, I was kind of on and off practicing. We actually opened up Trench Tech in 2004. Okay. But let me just kind of reverse back there. So Roman was doing the Fury Fighting Islands MMA promotions.
Okay, that's circuit, right?
Right.
On Guam, okay.
Right.
I remember hearing about that.
I think Jungle Rules, I guess, was one of the first ones.
Is that the one that was on Tinian?
Yes,
okay.
and I'm totally going to get there.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Okay, you're
that's
definitely right on
too,
track.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, Fury, fast forward to 2004, Roman and I, of course, had already been friends for about 3-4 years. So, he said, hey, Cuki, listen, man, I'm going to be bringing over the Fury Fighting Islands to Tinian for the Tinian Fiesta. And I'm looking for some from Northern Marianas guys that may be interested in fighting in the cage. And I'm like, heck, I can find some guys, because, us Islanders, right? Shoots, of course, man, everybody likes to fight here, man, one way or another. Whether it's drinking with the brothers at a gathering or, Yeah. But anyway, so Roman says, hey, Cuki, listen, man, you're the guy in Saipan, you know everyone there. Let's get a few fighters. I'm looking for around 8 fighters that are interested in fighting in the Tinian Fiesta for Fury Fighting Islands. I think it was like Fury Fighting Islands 2 or something. I think Rhoda was one. Anyways, so I got all these 8 diehard guys that just wanted to try it out. UFC's been around already for almost more than 10 years, so people knew what cage fighting was all about.
Wait, real quick, the boys you found, were they experienced in any way, or
well,
they just
well,
like fucking
naturally back then, see, in 2004, there was no grappling, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, anything here, but there were boxing. There was a boxing club here, a very, very live boxing club that was, constantly practicing in Marianas High School gym and also in the CK Elementary School auditorium. So there was a couple of boxing organizations. So, we used to go there too and kind of just like put on the gloves and hit the bags, learn how to hit the speed bag and all that stuff. But there was also a lot of like karate and taekwondo classes here. Back
so
then.
It was those guys.
Yeah, so I knew a few of the local guys that were training in the arts, so to speak. And so naturally I said, hey guys, there's going to be a cage fight coming up in Tinian, Roman De La Cruz from Fuckeyes looking for some guys. Hey, this is a great chance to go in there and show our stuff, So dude, man, it was easy to get the fighters because, man, the boys love to compete anyways, they wanted to test their skills. And so anyway, I got all these 8 fighters in different weight categories, brought them all over to Tinian, and they all lost, dude. And it wasn't that they didn't lack the drive to fight or even that they didn't lack any skills. I mean, like I said, they were training in boxing and taekwondo, kyokushinkai, and all this stuff. But unfortunately, that's how the fight started with all their fights, but it ended up on the ground. So as you can tell, when Royce Gracie was winning all his fights in the UFC against these striker extraordinaires, the same thing happened to our fellow Northern Mariana warriors, right? So when that happened, dude, I said to myself, man, as much as, I felt bad for the guys. Because they went there with the fighting island spirit and everything and poured it all on the line, but just simply lost when the fight got to the ground. They simply did not know what to do when they were caught in a top mount. They didn't know what to do.
They knew what they were getting themselves into, though.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
MMA,
definitely, of course, so absolutely. But see, even back then,
Uh-huh.
they were like, dude, man, I'm training in boxing, bro. I'm going to knock this guy out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, of course, Guam's been training for a few years and have had already a couple of fights in the Jungle Rules, and probably Roman had already had a fight back then. So there was a lot of hungry guys that were training in jiu-jitsu and already possessed that natural fighting talent and from Guam. So, of course, they kind of possessed the two of best both worlds, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, anyway, when that happened to the Saipan guys, because all of them were from Saipan, by the way, when they all lost, I felt really bad. So I said, man, I'm going to bring some sort of an art that, to train the fighters on the ground to Saipan. And that's when Trench Tech was born.
Oh,
that's when Trench Tech was born. Yeah.
Is that also the story of how Kato
Yes.
came about?
Yes. Well, Kato was actually part of the entourage from Guam with Roman. He followed Roman over to help set up the cage and everything like that. Kato has been fighting with Roman for a few years already by that time. And so Kato came over, and, Kato loves Guam very much. But when he came over to Saipan, he fell in love with Saipan, too.
Oh, okay.
He just loved the islands, dude, and everything. And so, man, it was just kind of like a match made in heaven. After the guys lost in Tinian, we kind of got back together. We came to Saipan, Roman, Kato, and all the boys. And then, I actually brought up the issue. I said, hey, man, guys, I felt bad for my Saipan guys that they all lost. I want to open up, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school here. At the time, it was no gi. Right, because they were just catering to MMA night.
Yeah.
So I invited Kato. Kato has always wanted to live on Guam, but then when I said, "Hey man, if I open up a school here in Saipan, would you like to live on Saipan?" And he goes, "I would love to live on Saipan, dude."
Okay.
Yeah, and he was at the time a very active, one of the top fighters from purebred Omiya, Japan, and he was one of their main disciples.
Yeah.
So Ensign Inoue said, "Hey, if you guys are gonna open a gym on Saipan, and you're going to use the purebred name," which he totally didn't mind. Shouts out to Brother Ents always to this day. He said, "I want to give you one of my best guys. I don't want you guys to be training under the purebred name, and you guys are just kind of just jungle ruling it, So he allowed Kato to come and stay with us because Kato was one of his main fighters in Japan.
Yeah.
He allowed Kato to come and stay. I got Kato a work visa. Dude, we ended up opening up Trench Tech. There's Kato right there. That's our sensei.
Yeah, real quick, look him up under suredog.com.
He fought Anderson Silva too, this guy.
Yeah, suredog.com. Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
No, for the people who don't know what we're talking about, he fought Anderson Silva. He fought Gilbert Melendez. Yeah, bro.
He fought some tough guys.
Yeah, man. And I remember...
He fought Vitor Shaolin, Hiberio.
Yeah, dude. I mean, the list goes on.
Yeah.
It was that one... It was like my first MMA event ever, and it was one of yours. Damn, I forgot.
The Russian guy?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember,
There's a story behind that.
Okay, wait, we'll get to that. No,
go ahead.
But I just remember, hearing of this guy Kato. Kato. I looked him up and everything, and checked him out. And I just couldn't believe that he was fighting on Saipan as well.
Yeah.
And bro, it's just crazy that he was the dude that came down and kind of helped out. With everything that was going on. So, and that was in 2004. So, so immediately after the Tinian thing?
Immediately after because Tinian was it's always in Cinco de Mayo time, right?
Yeah.
So like
the fiesta?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always first weekend of May.
It's always the first week of May, yeah. So we officially opened up Trench Tech on November of 2004. So after that fight, we were working to get an instructor in, of course, namely Kato. We were able to secure some mats from Coach Joe Ocampo from the CNMI Wrestling Federation back in the day. And so it was a match made in heaven. I had an area, a warehouse that had the space. Coach Joe Ocampo, who was the wrestling coach at the time, had the mats, and Kato had the expertise. So we kind of put it all together, and it was just from then until November officially of 2004. When is May, June, July, August, October, November? We've already been training for 6 months. With Kato being our main instructor.
Yeah.
So, man, within that short 6 month span, the word got out, you know what I mean? So we were having a lot of people just coming over and learning how to do an arm bar and learning how to get out of a top mount and learning how to get out of a Chamorro headlock and, all these pretty cool stuff that had they have known that stuff before they went to Tinian, they would have done a lot better.
Yeah.
And then check this out, Josh. So just 6 short months after we opened up Trench Tech, we had guys going and competing on Guam. And this time they were doing a lot better. You know what I mean?
This is an MMA?
This is an MMA.
And PXC, I'm guessing.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I had fought in Fury Fighting Islands, I think 3 and 4.
Okay.
I fought for Roman twice.
Nice.
I won both my fights there. And of course, I also ended up fighting in the PXC. But, like I said, I was kind of like a late bloomer. But, I wanted to prove not only did I open up Trench Tech and train there, but, I wanted to show them that, man, the techniques that I learned worked. if you really
Gotcha,
apply
yeah.
them. You know what I mean? In a real cage fight.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you know, out of the 6 of my fights, I think I won all of them by submission or something like that.
Yeah, because you're still undefeated, yeah?
Well, I quit while I was ahead. You know, if you want to talk numbers, you know, man, I actually started fighting late. You know, MMA is a young man's sport
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And I actually had my first fight at 30, I think 33.
33, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, real quick. I remember one of the first times I met you. This was at the old gym in San Antonio.
Okay.
And I remember I went there. You know, I met you through Frank, and at that time I was doing jiu-jitsu.
Right.
And I don't know if you remember this conversation.
You
I
were
was talking-
pretty active too, dude. I remember seeing you on YouTube and everything. bro.
Yeah, trying. But I remember it was me, you, and Tark for some reason.
Yeah.
And I
We're
think
right.
it was Tark that asked me, like, how come I don't fight? And I was like, I'll say 27, 28. And I was like, yeah, you know, I just feel like I'm too old, you know, by this age, you know, because I grew up in the system in the States. I was like, by this age, you know, usually someone's an expert
Tark
at
was
something.
still fighting.
Yeah, bro. No. And then you turn around, you're like, oh, I started fighting when I was 33. Tark's like 37.
Yeah.
I'm over like 27 years old. I'm already finding excuses, you know what I'm saying? and that's man, Meeks, that was a true story. And I just remember like, oh, fuck, bro, here we
Yeah.
go, you know, making all these excuses.
Oh, yeah.
But no, because I remember that too, bro. You were fighting, I remember it never materialized, but even as an older fighter, you were attracting some of these young bucks. Were you scheduled to fight, was it Kyle Regis or
Kyle Boom Regis.
Kyle, yeah,
yes,
a
yes.
very good fighter.
Dude is
Yeah.
kicking major ass
Yeah,
all over
bro.
the States right now, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were scheduled to fight him,
Oh,
yeah,
yes,
at one
yes,
point,
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah,
And- 'cause,
absolutely.
You know, the way I saw, because I remember that dude tearing it up, and I was like, oh shit, dude, they're still considering this older dude, you know.
And that dude was
to fight
definitely
these
more
young
than
bucks.
half my age, you know, younger than me.
Yeah, yeah.
But, you know, being the competitor that I am, of course, when a big opportunity like that comes to go up against a young lion, man, of course I'm willing to put it all on the line because I'm a trained fighter as well, especially during back then when I was training MMA very, very consistently because I was, you know, I had fights lined up and stuff like that. So, you know, the confidence is always there and, you know, you want to test your skills up against some of the best fighters. And at the time, Boom Regis was one of the up-and-comers, you know,
Yeah.
undefeated guy coming in. You know, I think he was 4-0 when I was going to meet him. And, you know, I was like 4-0, so, you know, somebody's had to go.
Yeah.
And, you know, looking back in retrospect, I think it would have been an amazing match, especially for me, because, you know, I was the older, more experienced kind of like guy, and he was a young, up-and-coming lion.
Yeah.
So it would have been a good match. And I really had a good game plan against him because I knew that his grappling was pretty kill. You know, the kid likes to throw down, too, as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
you know, man, unfortunately, it didn't happen, but I ended up fighting When You Bumba
Yeah, I
in his
remember that,
place. So
yeah.
even that guy's a dangerous dude, right?
yeah.
He could knock you out from anywhere, really, if you gave him the opportunity. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, Kyle Regis, shout out to Kyle. He's doing really good in the States. In fact, he just won his fight last night.
Oh, shit,
Yeah,
okay.
so he had a fight. I forgot the organization, but yeah, like I said, the kid's keeping busy, and he's really doing good for the Mariana Islands.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I remember catching a clip. It was one of the bigger, not as big as UFC, obviously,
Yeah,
but it was one
yeah.
of the bigger circuits out there.
Yeah,
he was competing
he's
in.
definitely a shoe-in, man, to one of the big promotions for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of all that, you know, fighters in the States that are moving up, you know, everyone knows, obviously, you know, the whole Frank the Crank
Yes.
story. So, you know, we've heard, you know, I've heard multiple times his come up more so through him. So through your eyes, you know, what was it like? Like really, you know, what stood out about him, or did anything even stand out to begin with? Did you know from the jump that like he was going to get to where he's at now, or?
You know, honestly, when Frank Camacho, Frank the Crank, at 15 years old, first
15.
walked through the Trench Tech doors. This was at our gym in Garapan behind Moylan's Insurance at the time, at my dad's warehouse.
Okay, yeah.
That was the first original location where we opened up. You know, of course, I think we were already a few months into training, and you know, the word got out, and Franklin, you know, Frank was, I guess, training with his dad in Taekwondo, because, you know,
Okay.
his dad's actually pretty good in Taekwondo, dude. He comes and he does the Taekwondo kicks and stuff on the bag, you know. So Frank comes over, this 15-year-old kid, little chubby. I
There he
forgot
is.
who he came with, maybe Raj Gavendo at the time or something, because remember
Raj,
Defunto?
man.
See, Ben Gavendo?
Okay, what?
Ben Gavendo, the older brother of Roger.
Yeah,
used
I
to
know what
train.
you're talking about.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was actually one of our very first students.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, he was doing Muay Thai at the time. So Kato was teaching us ground. Ben Gavendo was teaching us Muay Thai. And it was just perfect, man. It was awesome. So anyway, going back to Frank. You know, Frank walked through the doors and, you know, he comes in and he takes off his shirt and he goes, "Hey man, can I hit the bag?" I said, "Sure." So he comes in. I don't know if you can see this, but he comes in and he, you know the style, bro, when you stand sideways and then you pick up your pants.
Yeah.
Frank, he picked up his pants like this, bro. He walking back and forth, dude, and was totally kicking the bag. And I said, "Whoa, this guy's got some serious taekwondo moves, bro." Hands down, everything, dude.
Oh,
Side
shit.
kicking the bag, dude. Roundhouse kicking
Was it
and everything.
legit?
It was pretty legit.
Yeah,
I mean, a 50-year-old kid. So anyway, Frank started training with us. Signed up for a month. You know, his dad came in and paid the tuition. You know, it was $30 a month back then. You know, 5 days a week training. And Frank just kept coming and coming and coming and kept taking his lickings. I mean, that kid had absolutely nothing on the ground. We were just beating the living crap out of this 15-year-old kid for months, man. But one thing about Frank is he never stopped coming back for a beating, man.
Oh, shit.
The kid just loved to freaking compete. And so, you know, his stand-up was pretty good. He always liked to box. He would always ask, you know, after we do our grappling training, he would always ask, "Hey, man, does someone want to put on the gloves and spar with me?" So, you know, we always knew that he had a knack for stand-up, you know, but he kept getting his butt kicked. And we were by no means black belts or anything close to that back then. We just knew how to, you know, do a proper triangle, a proper arm bar. We know how to escape a side mount. We knew how to escape a full mount and so on and so forth. You know, we knew how to do a proper rear naked choke. So back then, in our eyes, we were freaking badass, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
So
man,
funny.
literally, Frank got his butt tapped out every single time he came and trained for at least 8 months. And he never stopped coming back. So that, to me, showed just drive, you know, the sheer desire and determination to just keep coming back and not get discouraged from all the time you get tapped out, you know? Dude. So one day he came and then, you know, we were rolling. You know, okay, I was the man then with you know, Kato being number one, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I'd always tap out Frank. And then, you know, one time, there was one day when he tapped me out. I said, "Okay, luck.
Yeah.
You know, he's been training already for about 8 months, so he's got to be improving, right?"
Yeah.
Then the next couple of days went by, tapped him out again, and then he tapped me out again. And then he tapped me out again. And then again and again and again and again and again. And then I don't think I've tapped out Frank Camacho since 2005. So, yeah.
And this was all no-gi at the time, right?
This is all no-gi at the time, you know.
Damn.
But, man, he was really catching on. You know, for 8 months of training, definitely he was catching on. But now you started to see his confidence build. You know what I mean? You know, he was one of the youngest kids of the group because he was only 16, right?
Yeah.
And you know, he was training up against me, Kato, Randy Taylor at the time, believe it or not.
Shit, okay.
Jason Tarkong, and just all these older guys, you know. And then, man, you know, Guam had an event. Melker Menebusen was throwing on this fight night event, you know what I mean? And he said, "Hey, you guys want to come down and grapple and, you know, just be a part of my event and stuff like that?" So me, Frank, and I think one other guy went down there and we competed in grappling. And then they put on this awesome MMA show where really just the guys from their own gyms were fighting each other. It was called Friendly Fire Bounce. And so when we saw that, me and Frank said, "Holy crap, we can totally do this in Saipan."
That was a smaller, was that the
That
smaller
was just
cage?
a very small, that was the Spike 22 cage.
Yeah, okay,
That was
I remember,
super
okay.
small octagon cage
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Milker has the boys training and stuff.
Okay.
And he just threw on a nice fundraiser fight night, and that's where we got the idea, and then that's when we started having Trench Wars 1, 2, and 3 right at the warehouse.
Nice. So you never, when did this idea of becoming a promoter come about? Was it so you can...
It happened just in the story that I just had
That
I had just told you. So we were going to Guam to compete on several of the events that they had, you know, Fury Fighting Island, some of these small little night grappling events, you know, some of, I think even Mariana's Open was still going on at the time, you know, mainly no-gi at the time. So, yeah, we were going and competing, and then, you know, when we saw that Melker Menebusen had that fundraiser fight night, you know, we had a lot of active fighters at the time just within our own gym.
Yeah.
So I said, we could do something like that in Saipan, man, and get the movement going. So, man, as soon as we came back from one of those one of those events, we decided to put an event on of the same thing, and it just took off from there.
Wait, so you never
I
had
never
this
really
idea.
planned on being a promoter, but
it
being
just kinda
that,
came about.
yeah, it just came about. Like I said, wow, you know, I don't know Melker as a promoter, but he put on a nice little fun night, fight night. And I said, we can do that too, you know, charge at the door, you know, help. And at the time when we first had the first events, it was just to invest back into our gym. to get new
Gotcha.
mats, to get new equipment for all the guys that are training, and then to eventually build an octagon cage, which we did.
Yeah.
All the money that we made from the first 3 events, we ended up building this octagon cage, and the octagon has been with us since 2006.
Yeah. I remember you saying that. Like someone just you took pictures of it or something.
Yeah,
and just
I
sent
took
it somewhere.
pictures of Melker Manibuson's, my Primo Melker, man. Yeah, he just goes, Primo, take pictures and make your octagon there and let it fly, man. And I took it to heart, and from 2006 we haven't looked back.
Yeah. I'm gonna get into the Trench War series, but before we leave it, I just want to real quick about your fighting.
Okay.
How many professional fights have you had?
I've had a total of 6.
A total of 6. Okay. And how hard was it to run a gym, be a promoter, and be a fighter? Because you were doing all 3 at one point, correct?
Man, I've always been this multitasker at heart. I mean, I remember during my motocross days, I used to be the racer, the track builder, the club president, the promoter. So I wore several hats when I was doing motocross and jet ski racing here on Saipan and Guam. And so I just kind of had this natural ability. To me, that's what drives me. When I want to accomplish something and it involves a lot of work, man, you got to just chop it down one at a time, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
nice.
because I had that experience from, and like I said, I never thought I was going to be a promoter. It was something that had to be done.
Yeah.
So, if you want something done, the saying, right? If you want something done, ask someone to do. If you want something done right, do it yourself.
Yeah.
And so being that I was promoting all these motocross races, from 1998 all the way to 2008, 10 years, of course, the MMA promotions kind of came second nature to me.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So it wasn't that hard. It was something that I enjoyed doing.
Okay.
And it was kind of like a passion to me. So,
okay.
it
So you'll
wasn't
find a
really
way.
work.
Yeah.
It was more like a hobby and something that I was very interested in doing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, you were still working on 9 to 5 as well, right? Throughout this whole thing.
Make that 6 to 6, dude. I drive for the Saipan crew boat, so that's a 24/7 operation. So I do the day shift, which is 6 in the morning to 6 at night. Yeah, and some people are like, Cuki, how do you do it, man? I'm like, how do you go to work from 6 in the morning? I have to wake up about 5:30, right?
Yeah,
Get ready.
yeah.
It's a good thing I live in Garapan because the dock's just right down the road. But, man, I go to work from 6 in the morning to 6 at night. Of course, not all hours I'm working. I have about 4 hours break in between, 1 hour here, 1 hour there. But still, 12 hours is 12 hours.
Yeah, 12 hours away from
12
your bed.
hours away from me. Yeah. So, I was telling one of my coworkers, I said, hey, dude, if you worked here every day for 1 year straight, right, at 12 hours, you'd be away from your family for 6 months and not even know it. Because that's right. Because, right? Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah.
He goes, wow, are you looking at it in that perspective? I go, yeah, if you worked 1 year straight, you would have spent 6 months away from your family because it's a 12-hour job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, so anyway, for me, it was just easy to do. I told people, like, when they ask, how do you do it, Cuki, 6 to 6, and you go and you train, I go, man, I look forward to going to the gym. That's my stress relief right there. That's where I find, like, I get to hit the bag and just let it all out, and then that's my relaxation time. Yeah.
Did you like when you were running the gym, a promoter and a fighter as well? Did you have equal passion for all 3? Or did you have to? Well, basically, what I'm trying to get at, I guess, is what did you spend more time on?
Right. Well, whatever needed the attention at the time, because like I said, so I opened up Trench Tech in 2004, as we can recall, right? And I didn't stop racing bikes until 2008. And in fact, this was in Tinian.
Oh, shit, okay.
Yeah, we used to race in
overlap.
Tinian. Yeah, so it kind of overlapped. So I was doing everything all at the same time. But when I opened up Trench Tech, there was a new motorcycle club that was kind of running the show. But I was one of the major helpers there. Track builder, track marshal, help organizing the events and stuff like that. So I was kind of like wearing 2 hats at the same time.
Damn. Okay.
But yeah. But of course, eventually I had to choose one if I really wanted it to succeed. And being that I've done motocross for over 25 years, and MMA was something that I was really passionate about getting into. I kind of said, okay, motocross, been there, done that. Now it's time to focus 100% on MMA and just building fighters from Saipan and, just building the sport from there. Dude.
Yeah, man. Yeah. No, shit. Good job, too, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just coming back from the States and, I was really enjoying it out there.
I remember meeting you for the first time, John. Yeah, one of the events.
Yeah, and it was so, what I learned in the States, they really drilled was, just the respect of the sport, the martial arts side of it.
Yes.
And I would hear stories, never witnessing this, but I would hear stories that, there were people out here when all this came about, that were all badass, and
Yeah.
because they fought this and
Right,
that.
right.
And I just remember coming
King
through.
of the streets.
Yeah, so, and I just remember coming through, and I kind of felt it, like, damn, man, like, I enjoy the martial arts and everything, but I felt like it was a little different out here, like I could feel it when I'm out in the club, And then when, I met you and heard about you, and then I saw the system you were running, like, it was pretty cool to see, like, you really had a structure down, and for the most part, you were really trying to grill in them too, the art.
Absolutely.
Over everything else,
Absolutely.
And,
For sure.
Yeah, man, it was just cool, and then to know that, the cage was always in the gym. This was down in San Antonio, it was
Keep it in the cage, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, it was just, it was so cool to see that, I feel like the evolution was pretty quick out here.
Well,
and half the time.
Here it is. We kind of learned from Guam over the years. Really.
Okay.
Going to events on Guam, there'd be riots, and man, they had such a crazy team rivalry.
Right?
Like guys were fighting each other on the streets, and it just kind of, back in the good old days, I call it, the early days of martial arts, man, or MMA rather, on Guam was, man, it's either you train with us or you train against us, man, they still have some bitter rivalries up till now. Being that we come from such a small community, man, Saipan, come on, gosh, 13 miles long, 6 miles wide? You're going to bump into somebody sometime or another, man. You don't want to be walking on eggshells, dude, And, here a lot of people just, we know each other, you know what I mean? So I kind of put up this zero tolerance. I said, dude, I'm going to set this standard. I'm going to set this precedent. It's going to be absolutely zero tolerance. There's going to be no fighting outside on the streets. Otherwise, you're banned indefinitely from competing in my events. And at the time, people were dying to get into the event. You know what I mean? Like I had such an overflood of fighters. I had to turn fighters away.
Oh, damn. Okay.
It was just the new, sport in town that everybody wanted to do. I mean, even up to this very day, I got fighters asking me when's the next fight because they want to compete. So I just put up this zero tolerance thing. I said, guys, look, and I'm not putting Guam down in any way because, they got fellowship and brotherhood and everything like that. But really, man, like we used to go to events and, man, you got to kind of watch over your back. You got to make sure you're not wearing the wrong shirt, or otherwise you're going to get jumped. It was really that crazy. And so I wanted people to understand that, here in Saipan, you can wear any shirt you want, man. I mean, I'm not going to tell you to take that shirt off your back just because you're on the wrong turf. That's your shirt, dude. You know what I mean? Respect your team and everything like that. Just don't disrespect ours, And we needed each other. So I said, hey, zero tolerance. There's going to be no fighting. And then that's when I created the slogan, friendship through fighting. We're a fight promotion, but we're not just hooligans that go around and want to beat down on anybody just because we have fists and, at the end of our arms. No, man, this is like a sport. The martial arts side really stood out with me. And I just said, man, guys, if you guys are going to prevail in this sport and support this sport and do this sport, then we got to do it on my terms. And my terms is very simple. It's zero tolerance. There's no fighting outside. Hell no to bullying. Hell no to all this, gang fighting and all that stuff. You want to settle your difference. Let's see how tough you are. Let's do it one-on-one in the cage.
See, because I remember always pushing that too, like I didn't like the idea, and with like my cousins, I guess, all the badass ones always tell me, like, Prim, if you're really that solid, why don't you, fight
Try
someone in the cage, someone that trains, someone that trains, not someone outside that,
You can team Guiguidzi.
So, but man, that's good stuff. Because even I try and tell people too, like, I remember this in the States and them trying to clean up the sport, and they were always talking about, the people that have worked their asses off, from the top tier like Dana White, to even just the local gym owners or instructors, It's like they've worked so hard to get this sport going, to clean it up, and it's done very good for a lot of people, in our case, Frank,
For sure.
And, it just sucks when I guess at the time, when people would, here on Saipan would take it beyond the cage.
Of course.
But, I guess for the most part, like I've heard stories here and there, but nothing really like out of hand. So that's cool.
I mean, you can never babysit everybody at the same time. And, there's always going to be that one bad apple, from different walks of life, right?
From every gym.
So you just gotta kind of deal with it. MMA has always had a bad rap, so we were here to police that and protect that image, MMA is not a crime, don't make it one, right? Don't go out there and be a bully and just cause trouble just because you trained a little bit with, whenever there was a fight and people made the front page who have fought in my event, they were already automatically trench tech fighters. Trench tech fighter gets arrested because he was involved in a ruckus,
I remember that.
Yeah, it was crazy times. I mean, we even had a public hearing when they wanted to regulate it here on Saipan. You know, they wanted to open up an unarmed combat commission and, you know, copy it verbatim from what the Nevada State Athletic Commission was doing. And, you know, and we just basically kind of just told them that, man, you know, we're doing such a great job. You know, we're policing it well. And you guys have been to, at that time, we've had probably at least 10 trench wars events and at least, you know, 14 rites of passage events. And not to mention all of our yearly grappling submission tournaments. You've competed in that a couple times, right? So, you know, our record, man, and then out of all those fights, we have at least 12 to 15 fights each event. So if you got 10 trench wars and you got 12 to 15 fights, that's 150 fights already. And then you got, you know, 15 rites of passages. And the rites of passages fights are always more. There's at least 18 fights there. So do the math there. I mean, we've had over 300, almost 400 bouts if you include all the grappling, with absolutely zero serious injuries. You know, you're going to get your nooks and crannies. You're going to get a bloody nose. You're going to get a black eye. You know, you might even hyperextend your arm, but that's part of the game. You know what I mean? This is a contact sport. It's fighting. So, you know, surprisingly, and which was good on our side, is that we showed the people of the CNMI that, you know, fighting doesn't necessarily have to be dangerous. Anything can be dangerous. You can be on a basketball court and jump up for a rebound and somebody underswipes and you crack your head on the floor, right? You know, you can be a professional swimmer and then walk off and get your towel in the car and someone hits you on with his car, right? So, you know, dude, life is just dangerous, man. You know, come on, man. I mean, as long as there's rules and regulations and somebody is there to make sure that, you know, you're not doing illegal techniques, then, man, fighting is actually surprisingly safe. You know what I mean? Especially with the numerous ways that you can win. You know, it's not just trying to punch each other's heads off. You know, you can do an ankle lock and win. Save the guy's brain, right? You can do an arm lock. You can choke him out. You know, there's so many ways to win. So
because I remember too reading about something. This again, I was in the States. I was in Vegas, so you know, MMA was a big deal. But there was a stat out there that more boxers died within a span than MMA
I mean, you
fighters.
know, punch drunk. Well, I mean, look at it this way. Boxing, you really focus a lot on the head, right? I mean, everybody's just head hunting for boxing. So majority of the blows goes to the head. I mean, just, you know.
And they're thicker gloves, too, so they don't get knocked out right
they're
away.
heavy, so they're taking the constant barrage of hits. And, you know, over time, that can somehow take its toll on the human brain. And, you know, people suffer concussions and don't even know it. You know, people end up punch drunk after years and years of fighting. You know, and some people are perfectly fine. They can get hit in the head a million times and they're fine, you know. It's just people are different, man, and it all depends. But, you know, my number one thing is if you train and prepare for anything really, fighting, any kind of sport, then you're in a lot better shape not to get injured.
The percentage is less.
Right, the percentage is a lot less for getting injured.
Do you still get backlash now after all these years of doing it? And
not as much, but you know, you're always gonna have the people that have something to say about MMA and the sport that we do, and you just have to stand your ground and you know, just use history and, you know, all the facts. You know, over the years, you know, we've been doing this since we've had our first MMA event in 2005. And what is it? It's 2019, so 14 years later, we're still doing this. And, you know, we're going to get the people that always have a thing or two to say, but we just kind of help educate them in a sense, you know what I mean? No one's forcing you to come and watch MMA. You know, if you say, oh, I went to this MMA fight in Saipan and I was appalled, hey, that was your choice to come and watch the fight. You know, MMA is not for everybody. You know, if you have a soft stomach, don't come and watch, right?
Because that's crazy. You almost had to educate the island first, on what it was and why it's good and all this and that.
Oh, yeah.
To actually catch some.
Yes,
some
people
steam.
started to come around full circle. You know, it wasn't really an instantaneous thing. I mean, you know, like I said, people at first were always like, oh, you know, Cuki Alvarez is promoting fighting. He even makes relatives fight. Hey, Frank fought his uncle in Trench Wars 3. You know what I mean? I mean, this sport is a sport. You know, if you blow it out of context and blow it out of proportion because of the way you explain how it is in your own opinion, which everybody's entitled to their own opinion, then somehow, some way, things are going to get lost in translation.
Because it's almost like basketball, just 1-on-1.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like you playing your uncle. It's just a different sport.
It's a different sport.
I get it. Sure. So with all that said, though, man, where are you guys at right now in terms of shows?
We are at Rites of Passage 24. That was supposed to be our 24th one. And then I believe we're at, I really lost count. We're at Trench Wars Force 22.
Shit, so over almost 50 then.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's without even counting the grappling.
Right. That doesn't even count the grappling tournament. And we've had our grappling tournament every year since 2006. So.
Damn, so still going, huh?
We're still going. I mean, we've been a little quiet after you two, of course. You know, people suffered a lot of damage, and, you know, we don't want to rush anybody, you know, just because we need to salvage the show. Well, you know, you don't know what the person's battling, man. I mean, you know, people lost their house, dude. People lost their car. People lost their livelihood, man. You know, lost their jobs. And so, you know, there's been a few people asking, hey, Cuki, what's up, man? How come you guys aren't having the fight yet? And so on and so on. I just basically said, man, let's get over this year. You know, I mean, let's just get through this year and not even worry about it. You know, not to mention the hotels were damaged, so some of the major hotel sponsors are not going to be able to support because of the fact that they just suffered some serious damage. You know, the rent-a-cars that help us out, you know, Hertz Rent-A-Car and Mango Resort, you know, they suffered damage to their fleet. So, you know, we're not going to be getting the same support as last time. And so we don't want to, you know, overpromise and underproduce, you know, with the fighters from off island. So we're being patient, and I think this is a good thing because people are longing for a fight. You know, so the more weeks and months that pass by, the more anticipation is going to build, and you know, we'll definitely have one, hopefully before the end of the year, and if not, then like I said, let's enjoy the year and come out strong swinging in 2020.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's funny. That was actually my next question. Is where is it going from here? But that's good, man. You know, is anyone, so on top of all that, would you call yourself a manager or just a head coach to like like Shane and
I like to call myself a coach, more than a manager, but I do take the responsibility of managing the fighters, especially when we go off island, making sure that, you know, things are taken care as far as their paychecks, you know, making sure that they're taking care of room and board, just making sure that, you know, they get from point A to point B. So yeah, I've definitely played the role of manager. And you know, Frank the Crank and a lot of the fighters that were, you know, before they made it to the big time, of course, you know, my nephew Roman fighting in one, you know, Frank the Crank fighting in the UFC. You know, these guys have always, it was never about the money with these kids. I mean, they just literally had it in their blood, sweat, and tears. They just wanted to compete and do good, you know, and some more than others. But, oh, yeah, man. So, you know, it never had anything to do with money. You know, they'd always donate a portion of their cash anyways back to the gym, just as a gesture, you know, saying that if it wasn't for this gym, you know, I wouldn't be where I am at right now. You know.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Is anyone in camp now? Out of
well,
Trench Tech?
no, but we consistently train 5 days a week. You know, it just depends on what's their schedule. You know, sometimes they show up 2 times a week, sometimes they show up 5 days a week. You know, it all depends. You know, everybody's got their lives, but you know, Trench Tech has never closed the doors. I mean, we're open, we're training. You've been there. You know, we still train Monday to Friday, and we're still very active in mixed martial arts and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Cool. Yeah. So you know, obviously we're mentioning Frank here and there. You walked him out one time in the UFC. Yeah. And how was that experience? Twice? Okay, twice. How
one time
was
in
that,
Australia, and the other one was in North Carolina. Man, it was awesome. You know, I mean, I think that it was. Of course, we're definitely awestruck, you know, to be in such a big organization. But we're not like selling ourselves short, like, wow, we really actually made it. No way. No, man.
I see.
It was always a goal. You know, we used to have this saying, you know, just because we come from small places doesn't mean that we can't accomplish big things. You know, so Frank is always, and going back to when you asked me, what did I see in Frank? Man, when I saw this little chubby 15-year-old kid come into the gym, like I said, I saw this drive in an athlete that you just don't see every day walking through your gym doors. You know what I mean? You just kind of knew that there was something different about this kid. You know, at such a young age, he was so disciplined. He was determined. You know, he had been tapped out for 8 months straight and, you know, still paid his $30 every month to come and train. You know, in fact, he paid months in advance. And wow, and that just goes to show that, you know, he had it deep within him at such a young age. So I'm glad that it's kind of, you know, amplifying out and just showing all the, you know, this is well earned. I mean, Frank trained really hard to get to where he is right now.
Yeah, definitely.
And one thing about him, he was always a workhorse, and you know, he was really mature for his age. So I think that helped him to get to where he wants to be and where he's at right now. You know.
Gotcha. That's cool, man. Because you were like his first fight, or since his first fight, you were always walking him out.
Yeah,
Here,
yeah,
out
man.
here? Okay.
I was
All the way
always
through,
Frank's
yeah.
cornerman, except
Cornerman, there you go,
when he
shit.
was fighting off island. I mean, in the Philippines, you know, when he won the light heavyweight belt over Fritz Rodriguez.
The
You know,
URCC, something like
this was the URCC.
Yeah.
You know, and then when he got knocked out by Kaloy Baduria, I was there. You know, I've been to all of Frank's fights. I just have not been to the one when he first fought in the UFC because I was on family vacation, and then he
Yeah, I
got the
remember
call.
that. Yeah.
He's like, Cook, dude, I made it. I'm like, dude, I'm in the middle of family vacation, bro. Can you postpone it? He goes, no, dude, if I miss this opportunity, I might not be able to get back into the UFC. I said, dude, you take that with full blast, bro.
Yeah.
Get full blast, dude. And you go and you make it happen. So he did that. And then I just wasn't here for his last fight because we were in Japan competing. Because Frank originally had a fight ending of 2018, but then he got injured. Remember, he injured his ankle.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we had to
Okay.
kind of push back a couple of months. And, you know, we had during that couple of months of not knowing when his next fight was, we were preparing our team to go and compete in the Asian Open in Japan
Okay.
for the Brazilian
For
Jiu-Jitsu.
okay,
Yeah, for the
Jiu-Jitsu, okay.
IBJJF, right. And so, you know, I had 9 people going to compete in Japan. And then again, Frank goes, dude, I got the call. We're going to be fighting on the same weekend. You guys are going to Japan. I'm like, oh, man, I'm in too deep. I can't cancel the fighters going to
shit.
Japan. You know, that's a group of 9, you know. So, yeah, I wasn't with Frank on his last one. But going back to how the feeling was,
Yeah.
it was a sense of just accomplishment. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I mean, being especially that Frank made it to the biggest show
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
In
Let's
that
not
field,
deny
yeah.
that. And yeah, and you know, on back to back fight of the nights. You
Yeah,
know,
that's crazy,
he even
man.
made it to the main program. You know, he wasn't fighting the prelims
Oh, yeah,
anymore.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you know, Frank came a long way in a
Damn,
short
that's true,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, and I know he signed up for, I guess, 4 more fights for you know, his UFC career. So you know, this is gonna be his make it
Yeah. this
or
could be
break
one,
it.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
he's got to do it, man. And you know,
Yeah.
we got him 100% of the way.
Yeah. So how do you feel, like, personally, though? Like, so the times you didn't corner him and you saw him on TV, like, does it really give you a sense of, like, pride or, like, it must, I mean, it must feel great.
Oh, of course,
you guys
man.
were-
I'm proud of all my fighters. You know, it
Okay,
doesn't matter
yeah.
what organization they
No,
go
but is
into.
it like a,
But
like a fuck yeah, you know,
oh
all you
yeah, oh
motherfuckers,
yeah, heck
okay,
yeah, heck yeah, dude. Of course,
Yeah.
man. I mean, you know, a lot of people said that Frank would never make it. You know what I mean?
Damn, and you ever witness to that?
and yeah, I mean, we can say, you know what I mean? It's not what they believe, it's what you believe. You know what I mean? It's your drive. I mean, so we try to make that an inspiration to all these young, up and coming, aspiring anybody's. You know, it doesn't have to be MMA, man. I
Yeah.
mean, gosh, you want to do something and excel in it, then it starts with you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, because I remember one time, damn, I forgot what the name of the bar was, but we were watching a fight with John Tuck. Shouts out
Okay.
to John Tuck.
Oh yeah,
from Guam.
Super Saiyan.
Yeah, cool. Man, I forgot who he fought, but he ended up winning.
Okay.
And I remember we were there and we were leaving, and
Was this at PFC? I mean, I'm sorry, at PXC?
no, this
Oh.
was a UFC
Oh,
fight.
okay,
Yeah,
UFC
but
fight, okay.
we were watching it here.
Oh,
at some
we were
bar.
watching it live.
I think it was at Ken's bar.
Okay.
But anyways, and I remember it got done and everything, and like you had like, okay, now I'm pretty sure he won now because I remember you looked hype.
Yeah.
And something was going on. I just remember you looked over and you were like, one of these days, dude, one of our boys
I
is gonna
said,
be
mark
there."
my words.
Yeah, mark my
You're
words.
gonna see
yeah.
Frank the Crank
Exactly,
in the UFC.
man.
Oh
And,
yeah.
dude, I just remember that, and it was so like you had this seriousness
Mm-hmm.
towards it. You know, like it wasn't a cocky statement. Like you were like. You knew deep down inside that
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys were paying your dues and paving
yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
And then
I
finally,
mean, if Guam can make it, we're all Chamorros, dude. You know what
Yeah,
I mean,
yep,
John Tuck
yep.
is just your mild-mannered fellow Chamorro
Yeah,
guy
yeah,
that
yeah.
had a big dream, man, and stuck to his guns. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, Frank lost some very important matches before making it into the UFC.
I remember, yeah. We won't
and
get
we
into
were
it,
like,
but-
oh, had he just won that fight,
Yeah.
he would have made it into the UFC.
So wait, fun fact, since
Mm-hmm.
you're on it, the Japanese dude that tapped him out
Yeah.
made it to the UFC after that
That's
fight.
right.
And then when he missed weight in the PI against
Yeah.
that Korean,
Yes.
yeah, that Korean
That
made
was
the
an-
UFC.
that Korean made the
yeah,
UFC.
So yeah, I
Yep,
remember
totally
that too.
true.
Yeah, yeah. I remember you were talking about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Like, these are very important fights that
Man,
he was
so
losing, but
it
dude-
was a little. Oh man, did he just blow his opportunity?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? These were like key fights that he had to win. You know.
Yeah.
And you know the scouts are like, how could this guy lose to this guy? And we're not saying that the opponents were not badass.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? But yeah, man, when he lost those fights, it was like we were kind of like fiddling our thumbs, going, "Oh,
Yeah,
now we
yeah.
got to prove something even bigger." You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
yeah.
you know, Frank never stopped, man.
Yeah.
He never gave up. He went right back to the drawing board, straight into the next fight, and you know, here he is. You know,
Yeah,
here he is doing his thing.
Does it like give you does it light a fire under you too when you know that he's in camp or he has a fight coming up? Like, does it get you fired up as well? Like,
well, of course, man. I'm all,
get you nervous as well?
Oh yeah, man. Oh gosh, I've been with Frank when he was on the verge of dying, dude. When he's cutting weight, man. Now that is some
I don't want to get into it,
crap. But oh yeah, I've been with Frank through everything, man. I mean, seeing him at his highest high and at his lowest low. So, being there and seeing him, of course, it lights a fire under my ass, dude, and it continues to do till this very day. You know what I mean? I'm glad that he's staying active. Frank's married and he's got a family to raise and everything, but, he's very responsible with his time.
Yeah.
And, he's just so fortunate to have all these people that support him wholeheartedly. He has his loving, caring parents who just, man, if you believe in your dream, go get it. You know what I mean? And he has a loving, caring wife that just supports everything he does.
Yeah.
And you got to live life fun, man. I mean, if you don't add fun to it, then you're gonna take life a little too serious. So man. Yeah, he's got a well-balanced thing going for him.
I mean, because I always see, Frank is always this guy, and we'll end it soon because this podcast is almost about him, but he's eventually going to be on the show. But the thing I learned about him a lot is just the mindset and, the excuses.
Hi, beautiful. My wife walked through the door, honey.
But, he always taught me about this mindset, and something along the lines of the opportunity to make an excuse.
Yeah.
And his situation right now, he could make all the excuses in the world, you know what I'm saying?
That's the easy way out.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So he's out there, working. Yeah, we'll try, if y'all know Frank, y'all know why we're talking about him. And the funny thing on my end of the story is that's how I got to know you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you remember that one summer we were down here and he introduced me to you. And this is when I was training.
Totally remember,
and then from there, I remember, that's where I really got close to you, I feel. Like, I saw how much you meant to the community. It was an anti-bullying rally that we did.
Okay, that's right.
And we walked. And I just remember, man, there was this one, we went to a pavilion, and they're doing some show or whatever. And, no shame, you're up there dancing. I was like, damn, these guys really out there,
Yeah.
And, I saw what you meant to the community. I saw what you were doing for the community. So it was honestly very inspirational for me.
Thank you.
And even for the people that do follow me, if you know some of the events that I used to put on, Cook was major help in that. Not only helping with, or really helping with the knowledge behind it, like getting sponsorships and all that. Of course, of all the Cypher series that I did at your gym, and I was once trying to get a fight team going on Tinian.
Yeah.
And actually, Brother Cook was the one that helped me out with that.
Oh, yeah.
Remember with all the equipment.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
We went over there, did a couple seminars.
Yeah. All that was going on. And I remember, too, man, just really, man, just really listening to you. How you were running your gym at the time, just how the community responded to you. I really looked up to that, and I've always tried to do that on Tinian, just trying to get that going, and that's why I was trying to get the gym and all that stuff going. But I just saw that at your age, still staying on Saipan, because I was always under this belief that you had to leave. Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, 32 bars.
Yeah. Oh shit, bringing up Master Phil. But I always believed that you had to leave in order to really help your islands, But I saw on you that you stayed put here. I saw what you were doing. I went to one of your events. And, it did a lot for the community. It gave them something to do.
Sure.
So I could honestly say that starting from there, after getting that knowledge from you, is when I tried to do that a lot for Tinian, and all that stuff. So, yeah, man, it was very cool. And just the knowledge behind all of it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I was able to put a little inspiration in you, Josh.
Yeah, man,
man,
and then even when those times that you have come to Tinian, there's been a handful of people that would thank me for it.
Oh yeah,
would ask to have it done a little bit more often.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And it's good now because I couldn't find before I knew you. I couldn't find anywhere what your story was. Right. It was always heard from different perspectives.
Right.
So I'm just happy and excited to have the opportunity to do it now.
Yeah,
and shit, I guess I have to use Frank again, but back to Frank.
That guy again?
Yeah, I know. But
I know that guy.
It's going to immortalize your story,
Yeah.
So that people can, look up.
Oh, yeah.
Look through it. And every show I try and educate the audience a little bit, but that's a platform I'm trying to form. I have, I'm not trying to, how kids see education and military out here in politics, how they see it as, oh, I could go and get my degree, or, oh, I could join the military. I want them to see certain things that we do. I like to quote unquote the uncommon and be like, shit, out of high school, I could be a promoter.
Oh, yeah.
Out of high school, I could be a musician, you know, along those lines. So I'm really trying to get the story out. Then on top of that, I know you personally, so I know some funny shit's gonna come about, man.
Well, I've always liked what you've done too, Josh. You know, support all things local. I mean,
thank you,
dude,
thank you.
that's a big deal. I mean, you know, I feel that, you know, put it this way. You guys remember back in the day when Guerrilla MMA opened up, and they were my rivals. These guys,
okay,
we were doing right.
Yeah, the circuit. Yeah,
right.
okay.
Well, the Guerrilla Warfare MMA was another MMA organization that came in after me, and they had a few shows. But the funny thing is of course I was like, whoa, we got another MMA guy in town. That's my direct competition. You know, I could have done something crazy to talk bad about them or anything like that. But you know what I ended up doing? I ended up fighting in one of their shows.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep, I fought in one of their shows. It was my only opportunity that I had to fight in front of my home crowd here in Saipan. Because I can't do it in my own promotion. I'm just way too busy promoting, you know.
Yeah.
And so I kind of looked at the positive of it, and you know. Of course, even my loving wife was saying, you got to support them. There's nothing else you can do. This island is too small, you know what I mean? Let it just kind of reciprocate somehow, some way. Yeah. And, you know, during their fights, I had all my fighters fighting their events and stuff like that. Like, see, I never tried to stronghold and say, you guys, there's a new MMA guy in town. You can't fight. Like I could have easily boycotted them, but that's dumb. You know, you got to lead by example. You know what I mean? I mean, I was already saying in the very beginning that it's zero tolerance. This island community is too small. You know, we got to support each other. That's the only way we're going to build each other up. You know, even if you're my direct competition, I need you. I need you in order to step up my game. You know what I mean? Without you, I can't step my game up and try and figure out how I'm going to do my show better than how you do your show. So it was a blessing in disguise.
And it also gave a little bit more education too, back to all that.
Yeah.
You know,
for
that's
sure.
cool.
For sure.
You know, I said I was going to touch on the fighting, but throughout all your fights, could you say who was your toughest opponent? And I don't mean necessarily like toughest as in you did 5 rounds, but toughest as in like you spent a lot of time game planning and preparation. And is there one that really stands out, or do you are they kind of all the same?
Well, I remember having my most serious game plan when I was set to fight Kyle Boom Rages.
Oh, okay.
That was my more strategic fight plan planning that I ever did. And of course, it did not materialize. And this was only like a week before the fight, so I had to change the opponent right away. And, you know, I went from a technical brawler, technical grappler to just a street brawler guy. So now I had to really implement my, a different plan last minute. So I learned to understand that sometimes you got to be like water, my friend. How Bruce Lee says it, you know what I mean? You got to be water. You just got to adjust to the certain situation at the time, you know. So, when your game plan, quote unquote, goes to shit, you got to be able to improvise on the spur of the moment.
Yeah.
So I can easily tell you that my toughest fight was against this kid named Leo Lionheart Singh.
Okay, I know you're talking about.
Yes, this kid did take me 3 rounds, but it wasn't the fact that he took me 3 rounds. He was another last-minute replacement, by the way, and it's those last-minute replacements that are scary.
You replaced someone, or they replaced your opponent?
Well, somebody replaced. He replaced somebody that I was originally supposed to fight.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so there was this one kid that I was training for. I think it was Joey Tyrant, or something, but I ended up fighting him later.
Okay, I remember that fight too.
So then Leo Singh took his place, and I ended up, what happened was I was originally supposed to meet this one guy. I can't say if it was Joey or not, because I know I fought Joey in Fury Fighting Islands 2.
Okay.
And then I fought Leo Singh in Fury Fighting Islands 3 or 4. Anyways, so going back, what happened was I was originally supposed to fight 155 pounds. Leo took the fight last minute, literally like 2 days before the fight. But he was a smaller fighter, so I had to drop weight. So within that 2 days, I had to drop 7 pounds. And, so I said, okay, good news and bad news. The good news is we found a replacement. The bad news is you got to drop to his weight. What's your weight right now? I go, dude, I'm like 160. I could easily lose the 5 pounds, right? Oh, well, you got to come down to like 145. I'm like, holy crap. So I had to fight. I guess I ended up losing the 5 pounds because I was originally set to fight at 155. So that in itself was a battle. I was never really one to cut weight because I always kind of walked, talked, did everything at just a natural weight of 155. Yeah. And so when I had to drop weight to 145, I said, okay, this is where the seriousness of the game comes in. So I had to lose the 10 pounds in 2 days. And I was able to do that. Yeah.
And you rehydrated pretty good.
I rehydrated pretty good. Good thing I wasn't too far. 10 pounds is really not that far. But again, I wasn't training to cut weight.
Yeah,
I was just training to fight. So when I had to cut that weight, I had to go buy myself a sauna suit. I had to go buy myself all these lotions to put on. And, you know, I had to just do it.
What weight classes were you fighting in?
Just 155. But really back in the day, Josh, man, you get on the scale, 148, get on the scale, 153, fight. You know, there was like there was no really set weight, but I knew that my weight range was 155. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I fought guys that were heavier than me. Pete the Dragon Paduna, the guy that I fought here in the guerrilla warfare MMA. Yeah, he was like 12, 13 pounds heavier than me, but we took the fight anyways. You know what I mean?
Shit.
Yeah. A fight is a fight, man. It's just scrap, you know?
Because I remember, too, that fight against Leo. Is that you wrestled? Is that the one you out-wrestled him?
Well, man, I had to do everything against Leo. He was such a resilient young kid that, you know, man, I mean, I must have laid 200 punches on the guy, and the kid did not give up. You know what I mean? I mean, he just takes the licking and keeps on ticking. But not only that, he was actually a pretty well-rounded fighter. You know, southpaw, too, so I had to adjust to that.
He was an up-and-comer on Guam, yeah?
I think I was his debut fight.
Oh, okay.
But, man, he was training with some of the best guys. I remember seeing him training a lot at Spike 22 at the time and just training with all these young bucks. And he was, you know, he had cauliflower ears. So, you know, this kid was trained. So I was like, oh, snaps, you know what I mean? And I thought it was going to be an easy fight because I had been training and he took the fight last minute. But then he ended up taking me 3 rounds.
And weight cut on top of that.
Weight cut on top of that. And then, not to mention, he was tough as nails, man. There was no stopping this kid, you know what I mean? I gave him everything but the kitchen sink. And he did not stop coming forward. You know, he was a pressure fighter, so I had to learn how to deal with that.
Nice. Man, you know, we keep going in and out with the grappling tournaments out here. And I stated in the intro that you started a jiu-jitsu program out here. Like, how do you see that? Because, man, when I look at the pictures, I feel like it's growing. Do you see that in your numbers as well?
Yeah.
Is there more people interested in what's going on?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, we are now really focusing a lot on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with the kimono, with the gi. And, man, I can say now, like, I wish I would have done the kimono when I first started MMA 14, 15 years ago. You know, but, again, you know, we were focusing more on MMA. And, of course, back in the day, we're like, who fights with kimonos these days? You know what I mean? And we were really we didn't know what we were missing. You know
I was always
what I mean?
Like, oh, yeah, when I want to fight, I'm going to be like, oh, wait, hold on, let me put on that jacket first and my pants.
Right. But so, of course, we had our fair share of putting Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu down back then when we were just ignorant, you know, But
wait, let me just make that clear. I'm not disrespecting Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh, not at all, not at all.
That was the way I thought.
That's what we thought. We said, like, you know, man, we are MMA guys. You know, we're not Jiu-Jitsu guys that put on pajamas and all this. Boy, man, I'm eating my words to this day. You know what I mean? But I think it took that to really learn and respect the art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because now I don't want to roll without the gi, you know what I mean? And I'm, you know, with the support of our brothers and sisters from Purebred Guam, namely Professor Steve Roberto, you know, with all the support that he's been giving us over the years, it's a program that I want to build. It's something that it kind of reignited a passion in me. You know, I'm already used to doing MMA, but now it's, you know, doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now my wife is into it too, so now our love is stronger, by the way. You know? But Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is something that is just really awesome for the community. I mean, I got kids as young as 7 and kids as old as 67 training in my gym. So it's such a wide range of people that you can train and help learn the arts. And so that's why I think it's one of our more popular classes now.
Yeah, because also I heard a conversation too.
Josh, by the way, you still got your gi, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm going to encourage you to come back because I know you came a few times. But then stop coming.
Call me out. No, because even I heard a conversation and it was about I don't know if they're called fitness centers, but they're labeling, you know, there's Golds, there's Laddie Built, this and that, and someone brought up Trench Tech, and they were talking about the whole gi program.
Yeah.
And that was the argument. Like, man, like, never mind the competition and shit. Like, just try it. You know what I'm saying? You're like, put on the gi and like walk around and see how heavy it gets.
Yeah, a lot of people have this misconception that, you know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and or even MMA kickboxing, K1, you know, a lot of people are saying, oh, like, so, like, I don't have to be a fighter to join Trench Tech. Like, no, of course, absolutely not. You know what I mean? This is more of a fitness, a gym, really, but we train in the arts of, you know, MMA, and we turn that into a fitness style training. You'd be surprised at the boxer size. You were there the other day. I mean, we put on a great training program. Not only do you learn, you know, not only do you get a good sweat, but you learn how to kick some freaking ass, dude. That's a good combination, you know?
Yeah, because even like, just, you know, I guess dancing back and forth, hopping back and forth without swinging.
Oh yeah.
I get tired. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like
Yeah.
that in itself, it's a fucking workout without swinging, without getting hit.
And then try hitting the mitts after that, huh, Josh? Huh? Mitts is a good workout too, and I know you know that firsthand, dude.
Yeah.
That'll really get you breathing.
Yeah, man. So just real quick, so you guys know what we're laughing at. I finally went back to Trench Tech last Wednesday, did their curriculum, and then did mitts after, and man, fucked me up big time. Those mitts are undefeated.
He gas tapped against the mitts, by the way, guys. It was a 6-minute round. He stopped at 4 minutes, so got some work to do, Josh.
Yeah, man. But good stuff, man. You know, one thing too I want to bring up, because I really admired this about you and your family when I came back. So of course I heard about you through MMA first, and then you spoke about it a little bit about motocross.
Yeah.
And back in the day, your family was involved in that, correct?
Oh yeah.
And then they're all, I feel they can all kick ass right now, your wife and daughter included. Like, I mean, is that? Are you forced, or not, I shouldn't say forcing, but how do you get them all involved in everything you do?
It's a family thing.
Is it? Yeah?
I can truly say that a family that fights together stays together.
Okay,
a family that races motocross together stays together.
Yeah,
a family that races jet skis together stays together. We've been through it all. My wife and I we've been together for 32 years. So, we know each other in and out. She knows everything about me. She's my number one fan, my biggest supporter. And of course, naturally, I got to get her involved to see it and just get a taste and a crack at what is really driving me. Why do I do this?
Okay.
And I think the only way that she can get a perspective of what I'm doing is to really get involved and do it herself. Mari used to race motorcycles too. In fact, she was one of the champions back in the day.
That's what I'm saying. I heard, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
Mari races bikes. She raced jet skis. Now she joins in on all the boxes. I can let her run a boxing class, and you guys will get a crazy workout. Then she spars from time to time.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up.
Oh
too.
yeah.
Man. Honestly, if you guys
see a black eye on my wife, please, it's not from me. It's probably from my glove or from someone else's glove.
Yeah, but you know what's funny? Because even like I always see all you guys spar. And when I
remember
first
when
came back,
me and Shane?
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up, man. You guys need to see these two.
This
I don't
is
even call it
father and
sparring.
son,
I know you
dude.
guys are like fucking each other up, dude. And I remember seeing it on Tinian, and when you guys are about to go at it with the rounds, I'll tap the boys, like, boys, watch this, you know what I'm saying? And you guys would tag the fuck out of each other, man.
We've actually come a long way since then too. Now we kind of train smarter, not necessarily harder. But of course, back then, man, we were in the best phases of MMA. I think going in there and literally sparring at 100%. Which we thought was pretty cool. You know what I mean? We thought that popping someone's ear and giving him cauliflowers was pretty cool. But then, hey, that's the old gym. But then, looking back in retrospect, we were just kind of young, naive. We were a little bit uneducated on the the professional way of training, and and I can say that a lot of fighters back then were doing the same thing. Really, it was more or less as the harder you train, the better you're going to be at fighting. But fighting has come a long way. I mean, you don't want to take constant 100% hits to the head, and then your long-term, livelihood is jeopardized, right? So now we train smarter, not harder. We do 100% when we do the mitts. That's for sure. I think that's why you gassed out, right? But now in sparring, we kind of spar like 50-60%, but we work on our technique and our movement, and then 100% wrestling takedowns, 100% grappling. But when it comes to the striking, you need to think longevity. And so, and a lot of people could say this, it's better to train smarter and not necessarily harder, because then you got longevity in the sport. If you want to hit something hard, hit the bag. If you want to hit something real hard, hit the mitts. You know what I mean? But when you're sparring with your fellow student, man, make it really technical as opposed to a lot of power.
Strength. Yeah. That's cool. But yeah, man, I remember even just recently was Alvarez sparring with someone? I think.
Alvarez was sparring with Shane. Oh man, like I said, till this day, we still spar.
Still go,
Yeah, I mean, there's not a day that goes by where we don't spar.
Yeah.
So we're still sparring to this days. I kind of cut down the stand-up sparring a little bit. Kind of realizing that I'm already getting up there in age. A happy 48th. Well, it's not my birthday, but I'm 48 years old, Josh. I'm not ashamed to say. 48 and feeling great. You know what I mean? I mean, I think the gym has really helped me physically, mentally, and just with a lot of confidence. I'm training these young bucks on a daily basis. I may not be as good as them fighting in the cage, but when it comes to giving them the strategies, just the proper way how to, do a technique. That's really gratifying to me. So I find a lot of gratification in seeing my fighters succeed when they fight, even when they lose. You know what I mean? Just going in there and fighting, it shows that they have the heart and the desire to do it. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. You see, man, that may have answered my next question already.
Okay.
But what do you call that? Shit, lost my train of thought there.
I know we're talking MMA though.
Yeah, no. Okay, that's what I was gonna say. So, what is it though? You brought up your age. That is a resume that a lot of people will respect. Even till this day, you have your 9 to 5. Like you can make a living elsewhere. But what is it? What is it that drives you to keep on moving with MMA? I mean, you did tell your story about what happened on Tinian. You want to give back to them.
Sure.
I think you're far past that. So what continues that drive even at your age when I feel you helped the biggest star, to come out of the CNMI, which is Frank Camacho.
Yes.
So what is it for you that...
Josh, for me, it never really ends. I mean, the next Frank Camacho is going to be walking through the doors, or the next whatever the person's, or the first whatever the person's name is. You know what I mean? So you want to keep those opportunities open and give every single person the chance that, like the chance that I gave Frank the Crank. Just because one of my fighters made it to the UFC, that doesn't, the work doesn't stop there. In fact, that inspires me more to go out there and help people, reach their goals. I think that, something about Trench Tech is man, it's kind of like a family thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
When people come and train at the gym, they don't just become my student and I their coach. This is, man, there's like camaraderie there, and there's, some people will keep their distance from you more than others, but man, I really can say with confidence that it turns out to be like a family thing. You know what I mean? People come and they just love the atmosphere. My wife and I are very inviting. It's just, I don't know. It's just something that comes very naturally to us. And I love helping people inspire in which and however way I can help them do that. And I love inspiring them. I love seeing them succeed. And however way I can do that, I leave the doors open, and that's what I think keeps driving me. There's always new faces walking through the door. We have our stables, right? We have our diehard trainers that always come and have been training with us for years. We have the guys that come and go. We have the guys that come, stay for a little while, go for a long time, come back again. You know what I mean? And so you just never lose the drive to continue to teach them and just help them reach whatever their goals is. You know what I mean? Losing weight, just feeling better about themselves, learning a new technique, whatever. So to me, I like to keep that wide open. Like I never just close the door and say, okay, Frank made it. I reached my goals. Gotcha. Okay, next. No, it's like, no, like you're next. You know what I mean? If you want to be next, you're next. I'll go next. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to end it. But let me just share my part, give my shout outs, and then you'll have the final say. But yeah, even on my end, back to what you were saying about closing the door on people, even me on the music end, Miko has put up some videos. But I remember I was looking for a venue, and it was one of those things. It was so tough for me to really sell this idea of bringing up some artists. And I remember asking around, and you were one of 2 people that allowed me to film. And I just remember that, and so long as it was after the gym times, and I remember, dude, you'd end at 8, and we'd stay there till like 10, 11, and I just remember some people would, like, some of Shane's friends would come over, and I was just like, oh, shit, we'll stay till like 12 or 1, and I'm like, dude, I hope I didn't do anything wrong, but, the series, it was so crazy because they thought it was an affiliation of some sort, that whenever they saw my videos at Trench Tech, they thought there's some type of affiliation, but I was like, no, I guess you could call it that, but it's more so that, Cook's trying to help me out. And even on top of what you just said, what drives you is watching people succeed. And I remember that too, like when you first found out I was a musician, I remember whenever people would come in and you'd know that they're a musician, you tell them. Like Marva Spalletta is my biggest example. You'd be like, hey, dude, this guy's a musician. And sure enough, we collabed, And I just remember that the whole way through, you brought up about losing weight. I remember the last time I lost a lot of weight.
Remember?
I brought that to your attention.
One of the weigh-ins? Remember you did that little challenge on yourself?
Oh, yeah. You see, remember that? And yeah, definitely, and I see that. And that's why this story is so intriguing. And in all honesty, a lot of people that know my story knows that it usually starts with, as far as my adult years, it usually starts with Frank, and then, meeting you and knowing a lot more people out here, the power of networking, just all that stuff, you know what I'm saying? So back to what you were saying about watching people succeed, like, dude, this guy's not lying. I've seen you help out a lot of people, not just through the fight game, you know what I'm saying? So definitely keep that up and keep inspiring people.
For sure.
And hopefully they could hear this story. I know I'm going to have you on again because I know we could talk forever. Yeah, but they could at least take this part of your story. And what I like to tell people is either take it, be inspired by it, follow those footsteps, or motivate yourself to make it better. You know what I'm saying? Like, be innovative with the information you have now. Maybe do it another way, and your promotion is going to be bigger than Cook's. Because if you're doing it for the right reasons, you wouldn't really care if you got a bigger organization or not. It's kind of like what you were talking about, you know?
It's the passion there.
Yeah, so definitely, man, definitely. You know, even with the fighters, I know a lot of people, like, really look up to you. The list goes on. I know you spoke about Boom going to 1. But who's that Korean kid that was in Milwaukee and he fought in one of those circuits out there?
That was our kid Songho.
See, remember, and you know, and he won out there, right?
Yeah.
One of the freaking trained in the States, you know, up in Milwaukee where Rufus Gym, you know what I'm saying? So, dude, there's some tough competition out there, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Those boys in Korea, or the Korean boys in the PI that were fighting, was it Max or Mike?
Yeah. Mike and Kevin Park.
Yeah. See, you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
dude, they run one of the best MMA promotions in the Philippines, affiliated with the URCC. These guys were my students, started off as my students. You know, just came in and they were with Jasper Vandermoss, by the way. They were friends of Jasper Vandermoss, and you know, because you know Jasper had fought for me a couple of times. I've known the kid since he was half my size. You know, now he's half my size the other way, right? Yeah. I remember Jasper and Avert when they were like, gosh, they were just young kids, man, 8, 9 years old, I think, or something like that. And man, over the years, you've seen them grow. And, you know, you see them accomplish great things. So, man, dude, it's something that you got to enjoy doing, Josh. It's something that you just got to.
Yeah, and I remember, and like, people like me, like, gravitate towards that.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like, I'm part of the person I am, like, I'm trying to look at your ideas and try and make it better or try and modify it for my field of things, you know, because I feel like, you know, with whoever that has put out a blueprint, you know, there's always opportunity to make it better. Or, you know, just so you could get more people along the ride with you, which is what you've been doing. So, anyways, thanks a lot for that. I just, you know,
no problem,
it just,
bro.
I mean, just like today, it was so hard for me to book someone on Easter Sunday, but you're like, yeah, dude, I'll do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So thanks for that. Real quick before we end it with the Cook shout-outs, again, thank you, everybody, for being patient with me. I know I keep apologizing, but I don't know if this is the listener's first episode. So that's why I'm putting it out there that, you know, the mistakes are being made now so that later on down the line I can fix them and it'll be a better podcast. So, again, thanks for all the listeners. I might change up the format this time around in when I'm going to drop the video. So, but as of now, what do you call that? April 21st. It's going to drop on Friday again, and that's the audio on SoundCloud and the video on YouTube. So thanks again for all the support. Big shout out to Meeks, and of course, staff and management at Safe House. Rick Lee, thank you very much for letting us use your venue up until this point and to continue doing so. And I think that's it for me. Go ahead. Any last words, Brother Cook?
Hey, thanks for having me, Josh. I mean, this is the first time that I ever did a podcast. So I think this is history in the making.
Yeah.
But nice. No, man, I appreciate coming here and talking about, you know, a little bit of our story and, you know, a little bit of our goals and what we want to, you know, continue to do. So just shout out to everybody that's listening. You know what I mean? And spread the word. I mean, I look forward to listening to the podcast more now that I've been on it.
Okay, there you go.
Of course, Meeks and the gang here for allowing us to do this, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, thanks. Shout out to my wife, my family, my team, just everybody that, you know, supports anything that we do. You know what I mean? Because I always tell them that, you know, without them, we're nothing, really.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
definitely.
So stay tuned for the next fight. We are planning on having it before the end of the year, most likely October or November.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right.
Other than that, I'll tell you one thing you're definitely going to know.
Yeah. Definitely. Do you want to plug any of the social media or website or anything like that?
Yeah, log on to www.trenchtech.tv. You know, you guys can follow me on IG under, gosh, I don't even know my own code. Ifamliakumas. But man, I'm easy to find. You know what I mean?
And man, see, this is what I'm saying. We could talk more, but very entertaining though, man. You gotta watch this guy's stories because, like, dude, it would be so serious about MMA, and then something else would happen. You know, like. I don't want to bring it up.
You gotta keep it. You gotta keep them guessing, Josh.
Yeah, no, no. It's like that stuff with you and your wife too on her birthday. I don't want to bring it up, but it's fucking funny, man. But yeah, see, Tumar's laughing too.
She's a team player, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't thank this woman enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. She wants me to explain the E familiar kumas. By the way, it's on
Okay.
my arm.
Okay,
It's just a
I'll
sign
leave
of
that on the
power.
link somewhere. But go ahead.
Well, E familiar kumas. So you know, in Chamorro, if you say it, my family the most.
Yes.
Basically, if you kind of directly
Translate it.
translate it. E familiar kumas. E mas whatever. E mas this, mas that.
Yeah.
Mas importante. Mas everything. But there's a catch to the E familiar kumas. MASS.
Okay.
My family the most. My family, Mariana, Alvarez, Shane, Shania.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. And it goes
yeah.
on with age too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just Moss, but then of course
Nice.
now I'm supposed to put another A, but we just use this A for Aldine and I, our granddaughter.
Oh,
Because
okay.
if it's now it'll be Ifamlioko Masa.
No, and then Alvarez always does A squared, right?
Yeah,
So
he
put
always
the two
does
on
the
the
A squared
top.
because
Yeah.
of him and his daughter.
Oh,
have
is
the
that what
same.
it was?
Well,
Oh.
Alvarez Alvarez, but
Yeah, okay.
his daughter's name is Aldine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Shout out to my soon-to-be 14-year-old grand. That's right. My wife and I are grandparents.
Yeah.
We're the proudest grandparents in the world. And I don't know, maybe I'm going to try and tell my 2 younger children, hurry up and make us more grandkids because
Uh-oh.
we need them. But no rush.
Okay, solid. But
Thanks,
yeah,
bro.
man, definitely, I definitely want to have you on again, and
Sure.
we'll talk more about everything else.
Okay.
But again, thank you guys for watching. Thanks, Brother Cook, for coming in on Easter
Pleasure.
Sunday, and stay tuned for the next one. Shoots.
Dude.